Hi, I'm Mike Cerrone with Mastermind Agent, and welcome to the Referral Mastermind call. As we're waiting for people to show and join us today, I'm going to go ahead and start what I think is a hot topic. That topic being 2-1 buy downs and how they can help your buyers and sellers. As you're reaching out to your sphere of influence, your past clients, your friends, your family, they're going to be asking a question about interest rates and interest rates going up, and if they're going to be able to still afford a property, afford a home, either for themselves, or maybe they're thinking about, can their kids now afford the property, or their friends, family members. And so you're going to be getting into these conversations about interest rates and looking for solutions. You also may have active buyers and sellers that you're working with, wherever the source of the business, including if they had come to you by a repeat or referral. So let's talk about this 2-1 buy down, what it is, and how it can help people who are trying to look for a solution for this challenge of these increased interest rates. All right, so let's explain what the 2-1 buy down is. If you've got a buyer who is looking to get financing to purchase new property, so we're only talking about people who are buying with a mortgage. If they're buying with cash, it doesn't apply. What they're going to be doing is they're going to be looking at their monthly payment based on the interest rate. And they're either going to have a fixed interest rate or an adjustable rate loan. This program works with both. When they do a 2-1 buy down, basically what that is, it allows them to get a lower interest rate in the first 2 years of the program. So let's say they're going to do an FHA loan. That's what we used to do a lot of. By the way, this program will work with other types of financing, but FHA is very popular with this. If they were going to get that loan, they were going to get a 2-point discount off the interest rate. That's not exactly the way it works. I'll explain that. But the conceptually for them is, let's say that the interest rates today are 7%. What they're able to do is, for the first year, their interest rate is actually 5%. It's 2 points below. And that their mortgage payment is then calculated based on that amount. That's how much they'll actually pay for that first year, the first 12 payments. It's based off 5% instead of 7%. And then in year 2, they go down 1 point off of the top. And so instead of 7, they're at 6%. So they'll have a slightly higher payment than they had in year 1. This will be in year 2, but it's going to be lower than the going interest rate, and the going payments are at 7%. So again, in year 1, they'd be at 5%. In year 2, they'd be at 6%. And then year 3 and on, let's say it was a fixed rate loan, they would be at 7% for the remainder of the loan. That's what it is. And what it allows people to do is get in when interest rates are moving and maybe a little bit uncomfortable, with a bit of a lower monthly payment than they would normally experience. So if they had to just come in at, say, 7%, I'm just going to make up numbers, the monthly payment on $100,000 would be $700 a month. That's not accurate, but you get the idea. And so instead, they're able to start at $500 a month, go to $600 a month the second year, and then $700 a month in the last year. This really allows a lot of people to get into a home and be able to afford those payments, and then work their way into that higher payment without taking the shock. And they can lock in whatever the home pricing is today, rather than waiting for a couple of years for them to build up a higher income. That's the advantage of the program. It works for both buyers and sellers, and here's why. A buyer can get in them with a lower monthly payment to start, and again, ease into that payment over 24 months. The seller is able to now become more attractive to buyers because they can promote that they're willing to work with these type of programs. The reason that's important is that the lender is not going to just do this for the goodness of their heart. They need to earn that 7% interest. And here's how it actually happens, okay? So the seller is going to put up 3% of the loan amount and put that into an escrow with the bank. So again, our idea of a $100,000 loan on, say, a $110,000 purchase price, but it's the loan that we're going to be talking about. And so the loan, 3% of that would be $3,000. So $3,000 would be paid by the seller at the closing to the lender on behalf of the buyer. The $3,000 would go into an escrow account that the lender will hold and maintain. Then what happens as a practical matter, in the very first year, instead of paying what the payment would have been at 7% in our example we've been giving, which would be, say, $700 a month, the buyer only has to pay $500 a month, but the lender wants the entire $700. So the way this works is the lender will collect $500 from the buyer, and then the lender will take $200 out of that escrow account to make up the difference. So the lender is still receiving their $700. It's just that the buyer is paying $500 of that each month, and then the seller had put this money into escrow on the buyer's behalf for the first year and then also the second. So what happens in the second year is that the buyer would pay $600 per month, and then $100 would come out of that escrow account. The lender would still get their $700, which is what they want. The buyer's just paying $600, which is what they want. Everybody's happy. In year three, the buyer then steps up to the regular payment, which is $700 a month in our example. These 2-1 buy downs, they're excellent, and they need to be known and worked with in these markets where interest rates are going up. We didn't need them over the last 5 to 10 years because interest rates were so low. But when I was very active in the market, we used them a lot. And I think you're going to see more and more of them. And if you get on this quickly, you're going to be able to talk to your buyers about them and help more buyers and even attract buyers. And you're going to be able to help more sellers who need to become more attractive to buyers. And again, it's called a 2-1 buy down, 2-1 buy down. They were even toying with 3-2-1 buy downs long ago, but I know that they're currently still doing the 2-1 buy downs. In fact, just heard from an agent when I mentioned this in email that she's been using it very successfully lately. So I hope that that helps, and to give you an idea of some of the creativity that you can use with your clients, either if you're working with buyers or even if you're working with sellers and you're trying to find out a way to make your home more attractive. And that's pretty cool. You can talk to your lenders as well to find out what programs and what the program is and how it works. Your lender may not be as familiar with it, by the way, right off the bat, because it's newer. So you should ask them to do a little research. And right now they're pretty hungry for business. The lenders are, because their refinance business is dried up. So the smart lenders are going to be looking into these programs for you. The ones who aren't very smart are going to say, oh, we can't do that. And that's when you need to go find another lender to help you. Okay, because these programs are out there. And they're pretty cool. And if you think of how it worked conceptually, it's pretty easy for the lender to set it up. They're very familiar with escrow accounts. They're getting their full amount of money that they wanted. It's just that it's helping to stage that buyer's payments in and ease them into this. One final thing I'll throw out there is, when this got pretty heavy in the past, if sellers were not willing to finance the 2-1 buy down, there were lenders who were willing to do that by charging a higher interest rate at the end. And so, for instance, if the going rate was 7, they would charge 7.5% as an example for the final rate. And then the buyer would start 2 points below that. So they would start at 5.5, then go to 6.5, then go to 7.5 for the remainder of the loan. That becomes really interesting if, for whatever reason, it's competitive on the property. Your buyer needs the 2-1 buy down, but the seller wasn't willing to contribute to this effort. And I'm going to give you one more big bonus on this, which is pretty neat. And that is this. I'm actually going to give you 2. So one more is this. On the 2-1 buy down, one of the neat features is that it is an escrow account, and it's put aside for the benefit of the buyer, the benefit of this borrower. And so if the buyer/borrower buys the property and then turns around and either sells the property or refinances the property inside of that 2-year window, the first 24 months, the buyer slash borrower gets a refund back of all the money that was put into the escrow. That's kind of neat. And you bump into that every once in a while as a lender. And that is basically, again, so let's say in our example, 100,000, we had 3%, $100,000 loan, $3,000 was put aside. If you got, not, it doesn't work out to halfway through, but let's just say that of the $3,000, $2,000 was used up in the first year, and then your buyer refinanced the property because interest rates came down. Well, that remaining $1,000 in the escrow, it doesn't go to the lender, it goes back to the borrower, okay, because it's been put there on their behalf. Pretty cool little feature. And that's the final little tip I'll give you on these 2-1 buy downs. Why they're interesting is it gets somebody into a property today at a payment that they can make. And then now they're rolling the dice. You got to make sure they realize they're rolling the dice on this next part. But if interest rates were to then come down over the next 24 months, boom, now they can refinance. So they were able to get into the property now, and then they can refinance at a later date, okay? Nobody knows where interest rates are going, up, down, or sideways, but that is something that's kind of cool and an opportunity for them. I hope that helped, that little 2-1 buy down concept. It's something you should put in your toolbox. And again, I would start talking to people today, because if interest rates continue to go up or they stay where they're at, it's going to become very valuable for you to have. And you can mix and match that with other programs. I'll throw that out there as well. So oftentimes, if you have these, say, FHA loans, where you got a first-time home buyer and they're trying to get into this property, they can mix a 2-1 buy down with, say, some government assistance, where if they're in a certain income bracket, where they're going to get, in my state, it's chaff and shack. You've got to find out your state programs. That's where they either get a second loan to help them with the down payment, or an actual gift, depends on the mortgage program, where they're basically getting as much as 100% financing. So they got the no money down part covered. And then this helps them with the payment plan. Again, you've got to start to be creative and think openly about how can you help solve their challenges. The last thing I'll leave you with on the 2-1 buy down is just make sure that your client knows that that first year is discounted on the payment, and then the second year in our example, but they will be going up to the full payment in the end. So you got to tell them, hey, look, you got to be prepared for the full payment. In our example, it was the $700. So you have to tell them, look, you got to be ready for the $700. It's just you get a nice discount for these first couple of years to ease into that. And if they understand that and they'll sign disclosures on that, then that's going to help them a lot. So hopefully that was good. A good way to start off our call today, a little bit of education. And